Welcome, everybody, to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, we talk about four different types of freedom: time, financial, location, health freedom. And in that light, I'm always interviewing entrepreneurs who are changing the world, thinking on the edge, and sharing those conversations with you. So today we have Kern Carter, and he is a published author and writer out to prove that writers are the true superstars of pop culture, which is going to be really interesting. And we'll talk about writing and influence and making an impact on culture. So, Kern, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I know we had connected through Podmatch, which is a great platform for connecting podcast hosts and guests. And so tell us more about yourself and how you got started.
Yeah, so I'm a full-time writer, which is an odd thing to say because I know a lot of people don't even believe that that's possible. But I'm a full-time writer. I'm in my own apartment right now that I pay for through writing. And I say these things half facetiously, but I know like I've gotten a lot of responses, so I know people are it's a thing for people. But I've been writing forever, but I'd say professionally where it was my only job since 2014. So about 9 years now since I didn't have to do any other like side gigs and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So I've been freelancing and now building a business and making that transition since about 2014 now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And not much people can really get paid for, to do their passion. And you talk about writing as a passion, and you've self-published first two books, and you've also, you do full-time writing while raising a daughter on your own. So tell us more. Well, one could be, we could talk about, for example, the first thing is playing the game quarter by quarter, long road to success. What are your 2 cents and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because the thing is that I think we're very caught up now and easily caught up now in the fact that we just want to get money fast, right? And that's fine. There's fast money out there that you could go get. But I think when you're building a writing career or especially an artistic career, it's very important that you take your time and build that career if you want it to last. And the reason is that you are dependent on your readers, for me specifically, but let's say audience, to validate and participate in your craft, right? Like they have to buy my books. If readers aren't buying my books, then I'm not making any money. If people aren't interested in my services, then I'm not making any money. So when I say go quarter by quarter and really play the long game, what I'm saying is really take the time to first master your craft and get really good at it. Not just like okay and be mid. I mean, like be really good at your craft. Being really good at your craft, being an expert at your craft will separate you in so many ways you have no idea. So just taking the time to really be good at your craft. Second, understanding your industry. Most people skip this step. Like understand the full industry. I took so much time. I remember when when I first kind of got on the bandwagon of really trying to figure out what the writing industry was like. I said, okay, how am I going to learn? And I just dedicated my entire evenings to learning. So I wouldn't do anything else except read about the industry. So I subscribed to newsletters, paid newsletters, some free newsletters, and I just read about the industry and learned about the industry and understood what kind of books that were selling, what books were not selling, understood publishers made certain decisions, like really studying the industry. So that's something that you need to know, because how the industry goes will impact the type of books that are going to be sold, the type of books that the publishers and agents are looking for. Like that stuff is important. So, and then the third thing is just like you actually need to build an audience and a readership, and that takes time, lots of time. So really take your time and build an audience and a readership up. Let people get to know you. Send out. You have to be prolific in a way. You don't have to be prolific, meaning you have to write and post every day, but you have to be prolific and consistent over a stretch of time for people to really buy into who you are and see the quality of your work. So I think for me, it's those three things have really helped me build this career. And even though it went slowly at first and I was really frustrated and struggling, I really kept my eye on the long game. And I knew for a fact, I knew I would be here one day. Like I knew it. It was almost like I was going to school to be like a doctor. And when you go to school, you're like, at the end of this, I will be a doctor. Like, that, Like I knew at the end of this, I'm going to be a full-time writer and a full-time author. Let me just take my time and do what I got to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you take that approach. You talk about, most people want to just be a one quick, have that one viral post, but that's kind of like, the jackpot or the lotto. I found it interesting that, that's what you wanted to do, and then you just focus, and everything was as an experience to getting there. Whereas most people would have looked at it and just quit. So
Oh yeah.
what's interesting is we talk about when you talk about the pop culture, like media, fashion, games, all this. You say that writers are the true superstars of pop culture. How does it differ from, podcasts or video, movies, all of these?
Yeah, because when I say writers are superstars, what I'm really trying to say is that like if you look at everything that happens in let's just take entertainment. I cannot off the top of my head think of one thing in entertainment that happens without a writer. Not movies, not video games, not even like everything, TV shows, commercials, it all starts with a writer. Like somebody has to write those scripts, somebody has to write those books, right? Somebody has to write it. So when I but you wouldn't know that, right? Like if, especially with music, like musicians get and actors even like they get so much credit, and rightfully so. They're the performers, they're the one that who are on stage. But the words to those to the act that you're watching and the performance that you're watching, the word to the songs that you're singing, somebody wrote those words. You know what I'm saying? Even look to actual social media. Like we still Twitter is still writing. You know what I'm saying? There are people who have built a career off of writing on Twitter. There are people, I'm thinking about Rupi Kaur, who won writer of the decade from 2010 to 2020. She started on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like she started writing on Instagram, people. Like this is so to me, writers are really a part of culture in ways that we can't even imagine. And I didn't even get into news. I didn't get into journalism. I didn't even talk about that. Like we are the historic, the people who catalog history, the people who catalog the present. We're the people who actually like shape the culture because we're the ones who are writing these stories. And when you think about narratives, and when you think about when people want, when like look at it from the flip side, like when people are part of oppressive cultures and the leaders of those oppressive cultures want to oppress people, they ban books. You know what I'm saying? They ban books. They put out propaganda. Those writers, those are writers, right? So it happens on both sides, the positive and negative. But my point is like we actually run the culture and control the culture and control the narrative of culture in ways that people don't even talk about and recognize.
Yeah. And now people are talking about pop culture as being an asset, which was my next segue. And we talk about, publishing industry. It got, Amazon disrupted that. So tell us more about, publish industry, if it will change, where you see it going, trends, etc.
Really good question. You know, the publishing industry is in a way is a not even in a way, it's the ultimate legacy industry. You know what I mean? Like writing started way so far back that it's ridiculous. I mean, pre-printing press even, but the printing press was still 500 years ago, right? And there was writing books and some of my favorite writing happened like 1,000 years ago. Like when you think about like the Iliad and stuff like that. This is a long time ago we're talking about. So writing is a legacy industry. And the interesting thing is that not much has changed. And when I say that is today, writing and book publishing very specifically is still a very physical industry. But physical books sell about 4 to 5 times more than digital books. Digital books are actually trending downward. They have been for the last decade. People don't really like digital books. Now, audiobooks, those if you want to talk about a trend that's on the rise, it's double digit every year. Like it was 25% rise every year for a while, and it was double digit again last year. And it's I believe now that people consume more audiobooks than they do digital books. So it grew very quickly. That's a trend that's happening a trend that's going in the right direction. So if I was to kind of make a prediction, it's tough because again I want to say that it's going to become a little bit more audio, and that will continue to happen. But 2021, we just had the biggest sales year for physical books in history, in
Mm,
the history of writing. We've had, I think it was like 900 million physical books were sold. It's like some crazy number like that, right?
yeah.
So it's still the physical part is very healthy. But what I would say is watch out for audiobooks, because between audiobooks and podcasting, there's a blur there. And I think that publishers will start understanding that you could storytell through audiobooks, and storytell and present it in a way that consumers are already consuming audiobooks, because, or sorry, consuming podcasts, because people don't consume podcasts in 7 hour increments. Like that's how long it will take you to read an audio or to listen to an audiobook. It'll take about 7 hours and sometimes 15, 16 hours for longer books, right? People don't consume podcasts like that. So I think what the industry will do is start putting out clips of books. So you could purchase the first half of XYZ book, and it's a 3 hour listen, and you could feel like, okay, I got through the first half, blah blah blah. Or they will start figuring out ways to present a full length book. So like here's whatever book that, like my book is Boys and Girls Screaming. Here's a physical copy of it,
Mhm.
but here's an audio version of Boys and Girls Screaming that's like 2 hours or 3 hours that you could consume. It's the same content, but specifically made for podcasting and for audio, sorry. You know what I mean? So I think there's an opportunity there. That's one. And then the other thing that I have no idea how it's going to impact the industry, but I know it will, is AI. I
Mm,
don't know how exactly yet, but I'm seeing some stuff on AI that is blowing my mind. So I think AI is going to disrupt everything. I don't know how it's going to do publishing yet, but I would bet on AI for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I just tried to get onto AI this morning to write a blog post and it's all full. And it's been
Oh,
full.
wow.
It's and then the other, you brought up so many good points because especially with, podcasting as a viable form of medium, almost like the new radio. And
Hmm.
then I've seen like creators, for example, like Tim Ferriss, he created a podcast, but it's in a short story format. So he's creating a story and
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's creating a community and he's trying to almost do it like a kind of mini Games of Thrones. And it's really fascinating what's happening, which leads me to my next question is, you know, I think every industry is legacy, and it's just kind of like these companies come and like disrupt them. And one thing I have is how will writing change with web from Web 2 to Web 3? What do you in non-fungible tokens and all of these?
I I see the so I see the NFTs as the possible the benefit or the possible thing that we could actually explore. I think the NFTs is because, and when I say that, I think it would benefit everybody that takes part in the creation process of the book.
Mm,
So remember, there's someone that creates a book cover, right? So the book cover itself should be an NFT on its own, right? That I think that's one possibility. But then another thing is authors go through drafts and drafts of books, 7, 8 drafts until 10 drafts until they get to their final book. Those
mm,
drafts are discarded as trash in the real world, right? But
mm.
in the NFT Web3 world, those drafts are gold. How did if you could see like she passed, but if you could see Toni Morrison's first drafts of her books, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You would freak. You would be like, oh my gosh, this is how she got from here to here. So imagine now we could tokenize those things, right? Like we could NFT, turn it into an NFT, and we could sell those things and hopefully make royalties in perpetuity. That would be incredible. You know what I mean? Like, so because the thing with authors is that it's very difficult to make a living just being an author. That's why a lot of authors teach. So if you can find ways to monetize the entire process of book writing,
Mhm.
then you help authors earn a living, and you could do that very very I would say streamlined through NFT and through Web3. I think it's going to be very possible for sure, and yeah, that's what I think. But we'll see. I don't know.
It's just like what you were saying about AI because we can't really fathom the possibilities. We know it's going to change, but we don't know how. It's like the internet. We didn't know
Yeah,
search and e-commerce, social media. We have no idea, but it's these are game changing that allow
yeah.
people. innovate. And it's quite interesting because there's this book I read, Balaji Srinivasan, and he wrote the book The Network State, but he actually published it. He can buy it on Amazon, but he published it on a website. It's free, and he almost did it like Wikipedia style, where people can go in and make edits and comments and
Oh, nice.
so it's like almost like a V1, but his V2, V3 is going to be different. So
There you go. There we go. People are experimenting, and we're, if anything else, we're creative. We're innovative people. People are very innovative. We're gonna find ways to leverage things and explore. So I'm excited. I'm actually really excited and curious about the future of publishing. I think it can be incredible, or the other part is it could stay exactly the same. And
or become centralized. We have Web3 central. Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. I love talking Web3, the future, just changing existing industry. How can people follow you, contact you, check out your work, etc.?
yeah, I would say everything is on kerncarter.com, KERN Carter.com. Everything is there. And if you want to follow me on social, like all my socials are Kern Carter as well. So I would definitely just type me in, Google me, and you'll see everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. And for all the listeners out there, be sure to check out Kern. He's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, as well as website. Check out I'm sure you can find his books on Amazon as well. And be sure to check those out. Fascinating discussion with writing, and thanks for coming onto the show.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to watching this back again.